right. What a day of celebration. We are celebrating Sacred Hearts Rising Courage Under Fire, the fourth in the anthology series and the final one. And we honor you, Brenda, for bringing this work to the world, and for you, Susan and Bonnie, to be able to stand in your stand on your story instead of in your story, and share your message with the world. So, Bonnie, I want to start with you. Your you participated in another one of the book series. Which one was it, Brenda? Was that number?
Bonnie was in 1 and 3.
1 and 3.
1, 2, and 3.
1, 2, and 3.
Were you in all of them, Bonnie?
Yes.
What a celebration. Wow.
Okay, I kept thinking that you were in 1 and 2, and
I thought that, but I wrote 3 stories altogether. And then this last one was just the full circle. So yeah.
The full recap of
you wrote your story, My Eddie, in book 3. You wrote your first one in book 1. And then the
second one was about the domestic abuse that I went through. I cannot remember the name of it. That's so horrible. I know.
I'm just looking it up now.
I also, of course, had a divorce, so I had a name change. I was Bonnie Todd in book 1, and then I went to Bonnie Nicole in book 2.
The Strength to Choose Me.
There we go.
There you go. So you were in all 4 books. You're like Liz. Liz has I think Liz Bonnie's in all 4 books too. And I'm going, I missed the one. So it's been a journey.
It has. So Bonnie, tell us about, it looks like you're frozen right now. We will, are you live again? There you go.
Yep.
All right.
She's blinking.
She is blinking now.
She's breathing.
So whatever prompted you or possessed you, so that we say, to actually write for all 4 books in the book series, what prompted you to do that?
Well, Brenda has this way about her where she just loves to open doors for people and then push you through them. No. I met Brenda and she really helped me, just to stand on my story. And so I felt like I had a story to share, and I shared it, and it just wasn't enough. I had more to that story with book 2, which was more of my childhood. So I really wanted to share that one. I felt that they were 2 very strong stories that all of us needed to hear. And then, once you start in 2, how can you not be in the 3rd and the 4th, right?
And what has that done for you to be able to share those stories?
It's definitely given me a lot of confidence, and I spent 30 some odd years scared of my story and scared of opinions and the backlash that I was going to get with my abusers, my family. Not everybody's going to stand with you. Some people are going to stand against you. Some people are too embarrassed of the family secrets. And so it took me so many years to not just write it down, but to even just say it, just to say like, I'm a survivor, or to say I was sexually abused as a child, or to say I've been in domestic violent relationships and I was in one for almost 10 years. Why'd you stay? That's what people usually ask. So these are reasons that kept me from sharing, and Brenda is full force for sharing. And I'm so glad that I did, because it's given me this added confidence, and the change from victim to survivor happened, right?
It's more than victim to survivor. It's victim to survivor to thriver. So
exactly.
You start to thrive. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. And in the process, as you've gained confidence, how has it changed your world?
It's changed a lot. I can communicate a lot better. I'm learning to respond now, not react. That's probably one thing that I struggled with my entire life. So it's nice now that I can just be like, I can just back myself out of situations. I can think, then I can respond. I still react to, sometimes I have teenagers. I don't know if any of you guys have teenagers or
we have had teenagers.
Really hard to respond sometimes. It's really changed my entire life into the fact that I actually want to live a life now.
That's a big statement that you want to live a life now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which I've
Congratulations.
battled with for a long time. I even recently, I've been battling with this. I had a really bad year last year, and I like a lot of us do, we fall back into habits, into cycles, and I found myself back in one. But because of this journey that I've been on, I've been able to look and see that I know where I can be. And so I was able to take the steps to get myself back on track, right? I don't think I would have been able to do that 5 years ago.
No, it's very interesting because there are trigger points sometimes. There's different things that come up, and we can, before we realize it, because it was such an embedded habit for so many years, it's kind of just easy to go back into it when you've hit with the trigger. But we do have the skill sets now. We may stay there a little while, but we begin to say, this doesn't feel so good, and I think I don't want to be here. So we pick ourselves up, but we have the tool set to do it now.
Exactly.
Yeah. When you fall down the rabbit hole, it's not as far to fall to get back out.
Exactly.
And we also have the kind of the comparison, because we know what it feels like when you do feel good. And, before, maybe for many years, most of us never felt good. Most the vast majority of the time, in the just life cheerfulness and happy and being able to cope with life's issues that come our way.
Yes. Well, and we get all these memories on Facebook and things, like all these social media things that we use. So, for the last year that I had a really bad year, and, like my fiance left me, and my daughter, like, I just was going through so much stuff, but I had all these memories coming back, and I was like, oh yeah, like, hey, there's her. I remember her. Now, how do I get her back? Right. So it was a lot more simple to get there, and because you've been there, you know what the success feels like, and you know what you have to do, right?
Absolutely. Very good. Thank you for sharing. And
you're welcome.
And for Susan, what your story was on secure in love. Tell us the story about that.
Interesting. When I wrote that very first story, thank you, Brenda, for asking for people to submit stories. In my last chapter, what came to my mind as she was announcing that, saying we're looking for authors to share their trauma stories, and I was thinking, I've got too much. There's too much for me to share. I mean, and who's going to even care anyway? It's like I just had this negative reaction to her just putting that out that day. I just remember how I felt about it. And then I was thinking, there's no way. I mean, where would I even start? Do I start at when 3 months old, or sexual abuse at 5 months old, or do I start at foster care, or do I start at a convent for orphans for 100 of us were there? Like, what do I even put? So for me, when she said that, I was just thinking, oh, too much. And so after I left there, I thank her for planting that seed, though, because I started really thinking about it. And I actually went home and I thought I could, let's take a look, investigate this. And I wrote down all the nasty things. But I honestly have not felt, for me, I'm a very open person. It's never been like, I think it's been shameful, but not debilitating to me ever. It was just, this is it. This is what it was. I never knew my dad. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why I kept getting put in foster care. So, but I remember writing down all the negative things. And then I was thinking, hey, wait a minute. I do have a story here to share. Like I do, maybe somebody else is like me. Like I was thinking, because you know how I know a lot of us go through that whole thing and we think I'm the only one.
Yeah.
I'm the only 5-year-old that was molested. I mean, nobody else could have gone through this, right? Like that's how you feel.
We'd like to think that, huh?
That's how it will be, because you feel so alone about it. And like Bonnie said, by the time you admit it out loud with your outside voice, I mean, says a lot. So anyway, so that's how I started this. And I want to, again, I've just really appreciated being in that first chapter, because that started the ball rolling for me. And I ended up getting, and my declaration was that I surrender this. Like, I'm never going to find my biological father. It's been like 58 years. It's not going to happen. And if that does happen, he'll probably be long dead anyway. And And so I ended my chapter with saying, you know, I surrender this, and it's okay. If I don't find him, that's okay. I've been looking my whole life and searching and wanting and having a big black hole to fill, but I've never filled it, but it's okay. And I do surrender it. And I honestly, with all my heart, just surrender it and said, I'm good with this. I'm good. And then this next thing you know, like 2 weeks later, after we sent in my chapter, I get a call from somebody saying, hey, I found your uncle on ancestry.com. And it's like, oh my God. And then it turned out that he had just died. I phoned his son and he told me, oh yeah, well, here's your dad's obituary. He died 5 years ago. It's like, after all those years, right? So, but isn't that interesting that once I put it in paper and wrote it down, I surrender this, and I felt it in my heart. It was that's when everything started happening. And so it's been a snowball since, and I've actually found 4 siblings, and we talk every single day, and we have a chat group, and I've met them all, and I love them dearly, and we all look alike. It's the weirdest thing having somebody that looks like you. I've never experienced being a sibling. So we sit across the table from each other, we're just kind of staring at each other, going, "Oh, sorry," and they're all going, "It's okay." We're all okay, staring at each other, going, "Do you have a mole on that?" Like, we're all asking really weird questions.
Well, we sure look a lot alike.
So it's all, so for me, this has all been a very positive and a really place of gratitude for me to actually physically sit down and write the words, write them down, and make it, everything's now come to fruition. It's come, you know, the things that I wanted, and the gratitude's there, and it's all really good.
In full circle.
And you did come full circle. How beautiful.
Exactly. I love that title. Yeah, I love that title. Thank you. So true. So true.
So what would you hope that somebody that reads your chapter walks away with?
Are you talking to me again? I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think that, like, my biggest thing that I'd like people to hear loudly is that it's never too late. It's never too late, and like, don't stop trying. Like, I've really, it was 13, my mom told me about my dad and gave me his picture. And since I was 13, I've been looking and searching. And I call myself now a reformed people pleaser. Like, I'm done doing that. Like, my whole life was trying to just please others. And I was like a chameleon. Every home I was in, and every situation I was in, an abusive situation, I did whatever people wanted me to do to fit and to belong. And I
that
never
was your
really,
protection.
exactly. And I never really did. So for me, knowing now and having a dad that actually looked like somebody, and I have these qualities that he had, and I know him as a person now through his kids. I mean, I just feel like it's not too late. I mean, it doesn't matter when you start looking, and you can never give up trying. That's what I'd like people to know, that it's never too late.
Never too late. Beautiful. Wow. So and to step into your story and to really convey it, for both of you, I've seen, you know, I'm sure you experienced, we've already talked about the transformation. How does that impact our world when one person transforms, changes their lives?
I'm sorry. So how does it how do we as a group?
No, well, yeah, as a group, because we've come together as a group, but each individual, as we make the changes in our lives, what does that do in our world, in the world that we live in the broad scale?
I think it just brings joy and happiness to the people around. I'm even doing it now. I'm facilitating a certified trainer for Happy for No Reason course, because that's happened in the last 3 years as well through all of this. It's something that I sought out, and I have, so we can be a light, just to shine a light on so many people who don't think there is a light out there.
Beautiful.
We could be such a beacon, and just show people that you're worth it, you're enough, you're loved, even though you don't feel it, you are. So
beautiful. Couldn't be said better. How about for you, Bonnie?
For me, it's that cause and effect that I really notice. of course, obviously I'm Native. So, I mean, they say for us, it's going to be 7 generations for us to heal from the intergenerational trauma. So this cause and effect is that now that I've done some of these steps and I actually see the change in my own children, I mean, that's just, it makes it worth it, right? That now that I've made these changes and these steps, and then, I mean, obviously we're not perfect and my children are definitely not perfect, but I see the change in them as well, especially like my oldest who moved out at 15, and I had a lot of worries for him. And then as I started to change, and then I started to see him change, and now I'm just like, wow, like what if I didn't make those steps and those changes? I don't know where they would be. So I mean, it's that cause and effect. I started, and now I can see how it's changed other people's lives, and then their lives are changing other people's lives. And it's just this ripple effect that makes it all worth it, right?
Oh, so worth it. That is so beautiful. And that's what I say. It's like that one drop of water in a pail, and you keep adding the drops, and it ripples and it ripples and it changes. And there's so many different schools of thoughts, but like happy for no reason. You know, when you think of that, what does that mean? Happy for no reason. And how do you feel when you're happy, and how do you feel when you're unhappy? Wow, what a difference, you know.
You mean we can actually be happy? Like,
yeah, like wow.
We talked about the set point earlier. Earlier, we talked about that set point where, you know, or now that we have the self-awareness, when we do go down into a little gully sometimes, which we all do, we come out of it quicker because we're more aware. And so that happy for no reason is all about just being happy from the inside out. It's an 100% inside job. You're 100% responsible for your happiness, right? And it's just having an inner sense. Our definition in the course is an inner sense of peace and well-being. So it doesn't matter. Like, that's why as a singer, professional singer, like I needed that applause so bad. Like, I needed to hear it. I needed to feel appreciated, and I needed people to come up after and say, oh, you're great. And even though it was such a, not a deep seated thing, I mean, it was so superficial, really. I mean, and they were nice people, and I'm sure they meant it, but I didn't take it in. Isn't that interesting how people would say nice things, but I didn't, all I heard was the one guy that complained I sang sharp on the third note, you know, like, it's like, you don't hear it like you should hear it. But now I'm understanding that everything external, if I'm relying on those things, as they change, now I'm going to deep dives of depression because, you know, so as long as my happiness set point is set inside, even when bad things happen to me, I can recover quickly, and I can talk my way through it because I regain that inner sense of peace and well-being.
So true. So true. We have to depend on ourselves to make ourselves happy, not somebody else.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, so appreciate this conversation because it's so vital, and it takes each one of us. And sometimes, you know, that worthiness point, we don't always think of it, that how we can impact others by living differently. But like Bonnie, you said about your children, you do start to see the changes in those around you. And number one, just simply being happy can, if you go to a grocery store and you actually look at the people around you, and you actually smile at them, and how sometimes they're like, you know, why are you doing that? You know, why are you smiling? Or stop and talk, and
they bring out the wooden cross.
It's like, what's wrong with her? You know, but those are the things that make all the difference. You know, when you look at somebody at a restaurant and say, oh, you're really beautiful, or something, say something nice like that, it just makes their day. And, you know, it's all those little things that add up to the big, beautiful things.
So true.
When you feel good about yourself on the inside, where you have gotten rid of some of the baggage that you carried, so that you can actually allow in the compliments and the sincerity of other people, then you can share it out. And like Bonnie said, like, you know, making a small change is helping her heal past generations. You know, so that future generations aren't going to be going through what Bonnie went through, because Bonnie has spoke her story, and now people know Bonnie's story, and now her children are aware of her story, and their children are going to be aware of her story. And that's what makes things change, is breaking the silence and healing past generations and healing future generations, so that they don't have to go through the same crap that you did.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah. I like to think of how we're changing the tide. You know, we really truly are. And if you listen to, or if you've ever watched the Finding Your Roots series, where so many people didn't even know where their parents came from, let alone their grandparents. And, you know,
that's me. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. And really, really understanding it. But those that did know didn't even know where, from whence they came is the best way to put it. They didn't, if you go back into the generations of ancestry, a lot of them had no idea where they came from. You know, how far back does it go? So it's up to us. We are the generation that it's time for these kind of things to change. And the more of us that do that, the better our world's going to become. You know,
and it starts with ourselves.
It does.
Self-love, I think, is such a huge part of it. You know, once we love ourselves, we look at each other, ourselves in the mirror and just say, you know, you're beautiful and I love you. You know, just that self, that is what is abundant and flows out. Once there's a lot of that self-love there, it just flows out to others around us. And I think that's important for us to remember, that we're very special and we want to make other people feel good and loved too.
No, it's very true. It's very true. When you, the ripple effect, like we had a conversation with Stephanie, and she said, I had to change me. I couldn't change my mother. I had to change me. And when I changed me, then my mother changed because she reacted to the new me, you know, and it was all the positive. So, and it is true. We have to change ourselves. We have to, move up from our stories. You know, our stories are going to be our stories and are going to be with us for our whole life, but they don't have to control who we are.
Yes.
You know, we can,
we don't have to control others either, right?
Nope.
Yeah, that's even better, isn't it? Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being, for both of you, for having the courage, having the drive behind deciding to participate in this series. And to you, Brenda, wow, thank you for what a beautiful series.
Huge thank you to Brenda.
Thank you. You're a creator, Brenda. You sparked it in us. Thank you.
I am glad that sharing my story was able to provide me the vessel to be able to help other women.
Yes.
You know, and I only wanted to help one woman. That was my goal, one woman, and I have helped more than one.
Once.
So for that, I am grateful for all of the authors for trusting in me and sharing their stories, because I know it wasn't easy for a lot of you to do it.
Yeah.
But I knew that if I could change, then you could too.
Yes.
Beautiful. For those that are listening, be sure and pick up a copy. And if you know somebody that could really benefit, purchase a book for them, send it their way, you know, just share as you can, because this is how these messages get out to the world. And, you know, there are people out there right now that feel very alone, and they don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. They don't think there's anybody that's gone through the same thing. And it's books like these, it's these messages that get out, that even if it could give them that little spark to get to start thinking differently, and to realize that maybe there's something that they can do differently, it's all worth it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
It is.
True.
So
Thank you very much, ladies.
Yeah, celebrate today as with this Sacred Heart series, book series that is coming to a close, but celebrate all that is gone and all the women that have stood up through this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Honor each of them. Honor
Very
each
much.
of them.
I applaud you all, and looking forward to sitting down and having a coffee with many of you.
That'd be nice.
I would like that too.
Agreed.
What does that look like? I don't know.
BC, Edmonton,
Do I have-
Arizona.
Do I have to put pants on? I don't know.
Wear your jammy pants.
I only have upper pieces.
We only have pretty tops, so.
Yeah, you don't want to see what's below the pretty tops.
Oh. It's bad when you forget and you stand up before your camera's off and you go through the doors.
The world of technology.
I love Zoom. It's very comfortable.
There you go.
Uh,
All right, you
all right.
ladies.
Thank you, ladies, so much.
You're welcome.
All right.
Have a great time, you guys.
Thank
Thanks a
you.
lot.
You
See
too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.